Now, in case you guys haven't noticed, as of recently more than ever, tons of investors have been selling out of popular names like JEPQ or even JEPI and buying more QQQI, the NEOS Nasdaq 100 high income ETF, like crazy. Now, in the last several months, I've been seeing more and more of this for good reason. I mean, this ETF does basically offer almost everything most of us are looking for, especially for those investors that are looking for some higher income generation off the bat. So in today's video, what I wanted to do is break down exactly why I think and why I know tons of investors are selling out of different names and sort of break down what most investors are seeing in this ETF and why they're buying like crazy. So if you want to see exactly what this ETF has to offer and why investors as of right now seem to be buying it more than ever, then make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. My A to Z dividend investing ebook has helped countless dividend investors get started with their journey. And my custom dividend tracker that I'm constantly using here on the channel has also helped so many investors stay on track and allow them to see their dividend income in real time. Well, today I have another treat for you guys. I'm not only going to offer you my A to Z dividend investing ebook and the custom dividend tracker, but also just for a short limited time, I'm going to be adding in my brand new weekly dividend blueprint ebook to show you how you can get started with weekly dividend ETFs and add this into your investing strategy. This offer is not going to last long, so go ahead and click the first link down below in my description, and you're going to get both ebooks and the custom dividend tracker bundle. But like I said, please act fast because this won't be around for long. Now let's get back into the video. Now, as promised, I really want to break down every single reason I personally am buying the NEOS Nasdaq 100 high income ETF like crazy pretty much every single day as of right now. But also, it's not just me. Tons of different dividend investors I've been talking to across the community are not only buying more and more this one as time goes on, but also along with that are selling off positions and going deeper into it. Now, I even recently sold off some more of my shares of JEPI and bought more QQQI as well as more SPYI. But the first of many reasons why this ETF is getting so much love as of recently from the community is because as of right now, it has like a 15% distribution rate. Now, even though there are going to be ETFs and stocks for that matter that are going to offer much more than 15%, this ETF offers exposure to the Nasdaq 100, which is a super high quality diversified index. But because the index does have some decent volatility, 15% yield is very realistic. Now, what's great about this 15% yield is that it's not going to take you a ton of money to invest into a name like this one in order to pay you a decent amount per month. For every single share of this ETF that you buy into, you're looking at around 60 cents per share per month in income. Now, this ETF also does pay out income on a monthly frequency, which is very important to me personally because, as a lot of you guys know, I've been trying to build out my long-term portfolio over the last decade or so that I'm going to use to pay my monthly expenses. Now, also, even though this ETF does offer a giant starting yield, I mean, 15% is pretty large. No NAV decay, this ETF has not been trading down and to the right, making it so investors like myself that bought into this one a while ago are down like crazy off our cost per share. This ETF is more or less traded sideways and paid us investors massive amounts of income. Now, one of the main reasons, this is a very important one, why I've been seeing a ton of investors moving over, shifting positions in their portfolio, and moving a lot deeper into this one. And this reason hits close to home for me because this is why I personally sold off some of my JEPI and bought some more of this one. It's because this ETF offers a tax-friendly income solution. You see, QQQI, along with a lot of the NEOS ETFs, do pay a lot of their income in the form of return of capital. And I went over this before in some of my other videos in detail on exactly what this is, what this means. Return of capital is relatively tax friendly. But what's great about this ETF is that 15% is a ton of income. So a lot of us are going to be concerned on how this income is going to be taxed. And return on capital is absolutely amazing. Now, also, even though we haven't seen any crazy upside as of yet since this ETF has been trading, this ETF does offer some upside potential, which is just sort of a bonus. I mean, even if this ETF traded sideways every single year, paid us 15% per year as far as monthly income goes, but on top of that offered the income in the form of return of capital, I would be pretty happy. But even along with that, upside potential is still always hopefully on the horizon. Now, also, this ETF, along with a lot of the other NEOS ETFs, offers a more or less consistent amount of yield, consistent payouts. They haven't always been exactly the same, but investors have a good idea more or less of what we're supposed to be receiving on a consistent basis. Now, another selling point for this ETF specifically is that it offers NASDAQ 100 exposure. If you don't want NASDAQ 100 exposure, this probably is not the right ETF for you. But for me in my long-term portfolio, I do want to have a ton of NASDAQ exposure, along with S&P 500 exposure and some other curated baskets like Devo, QDVO, and ELMA. For the most part, we're talking just solid underlying holdings with a strong option strategy over top. Now, another very impressive aspect about QQQI is the fact that the total return since inception is very close to the total return of the NASDAQ 100. Now, when it comes to higher income ETFs, let's say that offer exposure to the NASDAQ 100, investors are not really going to assume that the high income strategy is going to outperform or even perform as well as the underlying. But as you can see, since inception, both the NASDAQ and QQQI have more or less traded the exact same, offering more or less a 17% total return, which is very, very impressive and exactly what you want to see as an investor. Now, in the long term, I do think the NASDAQ will probably outperform as far as total return goes. And once again, that's absolutely fine, because receiving income a lot sooner is sort of the trade-off there, which I'm okay with. But the fact that QQQI and the Qs have traded very close to each other is still very, very impressive. Now, all this great talk about this ETF, but what are some of the risks? Well, listen, and it says right here in this article from Jonathan W. On seekingalpha.com, it says covered call ETFs have somewhat limited upside potential, although in QQQI's case, due to its active strategy and the purchases of out-of-the-money call options, this isn't too much of a problem. Their downside, however, is generally the same as the underlying index they use, which in this case is going to be, of course, the NASDAQ 100. If it were to fall substantially, this ETF would also do the same. Which this is something that's came up from time to time again. A lot of investors always ask me or always say to me, well, ETFs like this one, for example, that offers a 15% distribution rate, what would happen if the underlying, the NASDAQ, drops in price? But then I always simply say, well, of course, this ETF would also drop in price. But the cool thing is that depending on the situation, this ETF could still distribute high income generation during the sell-off, let's say, again, depending on how long it lasts, etc. But overall, the NEOS NASDAQ 100 high income ETF is looking very promising. Again, as long as the NASDAQ 100 stays together, this ETF should crank out some massive distributions, which once again are very tax efficient. So it does make tons of sense to me that some investors are choosing to shift over and buy more of this one. So now that we talked about the NEOS NASDAQ 100 high income ETF, some of the main reasons on why I think tons of investors are not only buying more of this one, but even selling off some positions and moving even more money into it. I lastly, most importantly, want to hear from you guys down below. When it comes to high income strategies, what's your number one favorite ETF that offers sort of everything all in one? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.